What is the most likely way the world ends? Most people would say it's some kind of cataclysmic event like a nuclear war or plague, something huge and obvious. But what if the real danger is much more subtle? What if the quietest possible way humanity could end is not with a bang but a whimper? A single keystroke that nobody noticed? Because somewhere deep under the surface of the internet, there is a shadowy marketplace where some of the most dangerous weapons in the world are bought and sold. And at any moment, one small mistake could trigger the apocalypse. This is the scariest business in the world. It's a little hard to put a price on a second chance. But if you had a chance to prevent 9/11s, the Holocaust, Pearl Harbor, all those things that changed the course of history, you might want to make a bid on one of these sites. Because believe it or not, it's not just petty criminals who hunt for vulnerabilities. Governments and terrorist organizations are always looking for ways to turn the tables. And when they find someone who can help them do that, they're willing to pay top dollar. We're talking millions. And it doesn't take a genius hacker to get in on this market either. According to cybersecurity expert Bruce Schneier, even an amateur could stumble onto a vulnerability and sell it to the highest bidder, without having to deal with any serious consequences. And the sad part is, most people don't even know they could be the ones to make those mistakes. Just consider everything we've all done. All the times we've carelessly clicked the install button instead of reading the terms and conditions. All the questionable emails we've opened out of curiosity. Every time we've given our private data to a company that probably didn't deserve it. How many of those times has something bad happened because of it? Well, technically, probably none. But maybe that's only because we were lucky. We might be sitting ducks waiting for that one mistake that will cost us everything. And the scary thing is, no one really knows how close we already might be. Because while this sounds like the plot of a Hollywood thriller, it's actually a fact of life in the zero-day market. It says a hidden network of websites and forums that specializes in buying and selling exploits or bugs in software or operating systems. These flaws are what hackers use to gain access to networks and computers, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. Sometimes it's a bug in an email filter that allows spam to slip through. Other times it's a backdoor built into a piece of software that gives users complete control over a system. But no matter what they are, they're always for sale in the zero-day market, and the buyers are usually the same. Big tech companies are constantly on the lookout for these exploits, so they can patch them before anyone else does. But these flaws have a way of slipping through the cracks, and when they do, they're often exposed in the most surprising ways. Take for example, Google. Despite being one of the biggest names in tech, the company was caught off guard when one of its employees accidentally uploaded the source code for an unreleased product to YouTube. That mistake allowed hackers to sift through tens of thousands of lines of code and find nearly 7,000 potential exploits. Now, most of these turned out to be relatively minor issues like formatting problems or outdated libraries, but a few could have been disastrous if they fell into the wrong hands. Like a fatal flaw in Google's Chrome browser that could allow an attacker to completely bypass the browser's sandboxing feature, effectively giving them control over the user's entire computer. Luckily, the company patched the bug within days of discovering it. But just imagine what would have happened if they hadn't. This isn't the first time something like this has happened either. Back in 2008, a Microsoft employee accidentally posted the source code for Internet Explorer 8 to a public server, allowing an Israeli hacker group called the Shadow Chasers to discover a serious vulnerability that could let attackers steal passwords by hijacking a user's session. And in 2015, another Microsoft engineer accidentally leaked source code for Office, revealing a previously unknown vulnerability that could let attackers break through Microsoft's encryption and steal sensitive information. These are just a few examples of the many hacks that have shaken the foundations of the internet, and each one shows how easy it is to make that one critical mistake that could threaten our entire digital existence. You know, these stories are starting to sound a lot like the news lately, don't you think? One company leaks customer data, another suffers a massive hack, and the next one falls victim to a virus that shuts down their entire network. It's almost like someone is deliberately trying to tear the whole internet apart. Well, maybe they are. Because as frightening as these accidents are, there's another story going on behind the scenes. Because what makes the zero-day market so disturbing is the idea that someone out there is actively searching for these exploits and weaponizing them. Even worse, they're doing it without our knowledge. And the saddest part is that they might be closer than we think. You see, the secret history of the zero-day market actually goes back to the dawn of the internet itself. In the early days of personal computing, hackers saw every vulnerability as a new challenge, a puzzle to be solved and beaten, not realizing that each flaw they discovered could also be used for malicious purposes. So, in the mid-1990s, a group of ethical hackers decided to take matters into their own hands. They created iDefense, a security company that would essentially pay hackers to find bugs in popular software and operating systems. That way they could alert developers and help patch the flaws before anyone else exploited them. For a while, it worked well enough, creating a sort of underground economy where hackers could earn money and bragging rights for helping keep the internet safe. But not everyone was happy with this arrangement, especially the ones who didn't get paid. Because in the cutthroat world of hacking, if you find a vulnerability, it's winner takes all. And that meant there was always someone watching from the sidelines, ready to strike when the time was right. When iDefense shut down in 2008, many feared that the zero-day market would go underground, and that's exactly what happened. Hackers began sharing exploits in secret forums and private marketplaces, using coded language to avoid detection and earning huge profits by selling the same vulnerability to both sides of the conflict. The result was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it helped developers fix critical flaws and alerted authorities to upcoming cyber attacks. On the other hand, it gave hackers the perfect opportunity to make money on the side and, in some cases, give dangerous tools to whoever would pay top dollar. And nowadays, there's no telling who's in charge. Some of the most notorious hacks of recent years have come from anonymous sources, like the virus that crippled the Sony Corporation or the attempt one that held 200 million Yahoo accounts hostage. These attacks caused billions of dollars in damages and left millions of people vulnerable to identity theft. But the worst part is, we may never know who's behind them. After all, anonymity is the name of the game in the zero-day market. If you buy an exploit, no one will ever know unless the seller spills the beans. And even then, they'll disappear before anyone can track them down. That's why many experts believe that the zero-day market is essentially a lawless country, a place where anything goes, and the only rule is don't get caught. But that's easier said than done, because unlike physical crimes, digital ones leave practically no trace. Once a vulnerability is sold, it disappears into the ether. Even if law enforcement could track down the seller, there's no way to know who the buyer is or what they intend to do with it. So once the damage is done, it's too late. There's no putting the toothpaste back in the bottle. Which is why you should subscribe if you haven't already, because it helps me reach more eyeballs. Maybe that's the real scariest part of the zero-day market. The idea that no matter what we do, there's always a chance that one mistake could undo everything. Imagine the countless vulnerabilities that have slipped through the cracks, the ones that never got patched, or the ones that hackers simply overlooked. Each one is a ticking time bomb, and we don't know when it's going to explode. Maybe it'll be tomorrow, or maybe in 10 years. But one thing's for sure, when it does happen, the whole world will feel it. So here's what I suggest. Let's just forget this video ever happened. Pretend you never heard about the zero-day market or the people who profit from selling vulnerabilities, because maybe that's the only way to survive in this digital age, to live in blissful ignorance, while the people in the shadows pull the strings. After all, we can't stop them from hunting for vulnerabilities. We can't stop them from selling them to the highest bidder. And we can't stop them from striking at the precise moment that we least expect it. All we can do is try to live our lives and hope for the best. Thanks for watching.